Could Jameson Williams be nearing a contract extension? Let's talk about it. I'm the Doc, John Macaroon. Thanks everyone for joining the Detroit Lions on SI YouTube channel. Make sure that you hit that like button on these videos, subscribe, share. If you feel anything at all about the Jameson Williams contract extension, let us know. We're going to talk about figures. Is it going to happen? Why? It could potentially be the right thing for Brad Holmes to maybe make this move right now, sooner rather than later. On the latest edition of the Detroit Lions podcast, hosted by reporter Jeff Risdon, he took a question that was asking which player of three could potentially be in line next for a contract extension. And among them was Jameson Williams, and Risdon reported, and he said to his audience that, hey, he believes that the sources that are telling him that Jameson Williams could be extended sooner rather than later. And he felt confident that the extension would take place. And it makes sense. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Knowing the Detroit Lions financially, it could behoove them to get this done early. Here's why. Here's an advantage to get this done early. If Jameson Williams, by all accounts, if you trust the coaching staff, Dan Campbell, the rest of the roster, JMO's been shining at OTAs, offseason workouts. They expect him to have a massive breakout year in 2025. So if Jameson has a breakout year, then that is going to quickly elevate his value. And that could be even north of $30 million, topping Amon-Ra St. Brown. So if you get ahead of this, if you're the general manager, you're Brad Holmes, and you look at your contract situations and you realize, oh boy, if I get out ahead of this, if we can get Jameson Williams locked in, maybe in the neighborhood of 3 years and $25 million per season, you maybe get a great discount, because as each player now comes up, as each wide receiver comes up on their contract, they're going to want to break the bank. If Jameson Williams will take a significant portion, maybe a lot guaranteed, then maybe he'd be willing to get locked up, because he's already going to make. Now, here's his current status. He's under contract for 2025 and 2026. So his contract would not probably start until 2027. So you could get Jameson Williams for another, conceivably, if you do a 2 or 3 year deal, for another 4 to 5 seasons. And you would get him right up into his prime at 28, 29 years old. And you could guarantee his future. Let's say, I do think that Lions on SI has kind of maybe forecasted about an extension about 3 years, $75 million. And you give him north of 60 guaranteed. I don't know why Jameson would turn that down. Now, if you're a player of his caliber, do you bet on yourself? That's the other side of the coin. Maybe that Risdon was aware of an offer, and maybe a healthy offer, that Jameson should consider seriously. But if he does bet on himself, let's say you forecast Jameson Williams to go out this year and have 1,200 yards plus, 10 touchdowns, is a big part of the explosive part of the offense, is a player that showcases, hey, I'm an individual that can be a leader and be the true number one. Now you're talking setting the market and going north of maybe 35 million annually and getting 4 or 5 years. A team would potentially do that. But I do think that Jameson has ties to the city. I do think that he feels comfortable in the working relationship that he has in the confines of this offense. I think that working with Jared Goff has provided him a comfort level, knowing what now over the course of a couple of years working with Jared, who's going to be here for the next couple of years. You would presume that Dan Campbell, John Morton are going to put together an offense that's going to highlight the key skill players. So JMO's going to shine in Detroit. What would happen if he does end up leaving and going to another opportunity? How quickly could he shine? How quickly could he reacclimate to a new situation? Maybe something different that's maybe not as welcoming as Detroit, the city, the fan base. The fan base adores Jameson Williams. They've even been tolerant of off the field issues that resulted in him not being available for the team for the time being. So for Jameson Williams, it's a great opportunity. There's opportunities that if it's a 3-year, $75 million deal in the neighborhood of $25 million per year, it may be in your best interest to lock up the money now and get your guarantees in your mid-20s. But there's also that notion of, you know what, I'm good for this year and next year. I have millions coming in. Let's see what you can do to maximize your true value. So while the report, definitely from a trusted source, I think that there is maybe in terms of timing, I don't know if it's going to happen sooner rather than later, because if you're Jameson Williams, you're probably going to take counsel from your agent, from a lot of different sources before you make a key decision. But it could come down as early as today, maybe as early as while I'm talking during this video. So for Jameson Williams, I do think that, in the confines of this offense, I think has a chance to be real successful. When you look at John Morton, who has been known to work with wide receivers very well in terms of their routes and getting them open, scheming up plays and opportunities for them to shine. And especially when Morton met with the media at the combine, I was present and had a chance to sit with him along with other reporters for a good half hour. And he indicated that, yeah, explosive plays are definitely appealing to a lot of coaches. They want to expand and do more in terms of explosive plays. They want to involve Jameson Williams, and you expect him to be a guy that's going to get a plethora of targets deep and be a guy that's going to help to open up the offense a little bit more and back off some of the defensive pressure. When you have a guy like Jameson Williams, who could still be used in so many more different ways in the backfield and the slot, move him around, you feel like there's still so much untapped potential from this athlete. So to get him locked up, I think would be a great advantage in terms of salary cap. Because why? You then lower the cap hits overall down the road. If you can, add void years, which the Lions have been doing, you kind of maybe lower the brunt early on before down the road you got to take elevated balloon cap hits. So with Jared Goff, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown starting to have their cap hit official numbers on the official cap starting to balloon, it would be advantageous to lock up some players and get some cap friendly early numbers, because typically the first couple years of these new deals tend to be friendly. So I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm wondering if Jameson will actually get an extension before Aiden Hutchinson, which may be easier because the range of what Jameson could ask for or request might be in line to negotiate with the Detroit Lions, whereas Aiden, he's going to potentially want to be in that Myles Garrett range, market setting range. I'm not sure yet that Jameson is in that market setting range because of his youth, because of things that have happened in the past, and because of the fact that he's also now part of an offense that features Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he's also getting paid $30 million. So it's an interesting, intriguing, a very intriguing look at Brad Holmes and how he gets things done. But you recognize the pattern of the Lions. They draft, develop, they like to keep their own. And for Jameson Williams, do you think the season that he had in 2024 was enough to lock him down for a longer term extension? I'd like to see him do it again. In the end, rewarding a player for shining is never a bad thing. I know within the confines of the cap, it's difficult. But if you're Jameson Williams, why not bet on yourself? Why not shoot for the stars? Why not go for you're already locked up for 2 more years? And why not potentially go out there and have an opportunity this year and shine, and maybe the organization will lob you a 4-year, $125 million contract and get north of $100 million guaranteed. These wide receivers are breaking the bank. CeeDee Lambs of the world, they're going out there and they're crushing it. The wide receiver market has exploded as well alongside the defensive end market. So these are the bills. These are the bills due that Brad Holmes has talked about, and one of them is Jameson Williams. I'm curious, do you guys think an extension is going to be near, sooner rather than later? Start a training camp this year? I think that for the Lions, there is another option. The other option to present is not to extend him. You have him under control. Similarly to Detroit Tigers fans, you realize Tariq Skubal is under team control for 2025 and 26. Similarly with Jameson Williams, you've offered him and granted his 5th-year option, which locks him in for 2025 and 2026. You also can take 1 more year and use the franchise tag to keep him in Detroit for 2027. That's 3 more years without having to guarantee him north of $50 million. Is it a position worth franchise tagging? I think the wide receiver spot you could look at. I know it's going to balloon that 1 year in 27 to be probably by then north of $20 million, but it's just a 1-year commitment. And when you keep having a player that needs to prove it still, I do think you get an opportunity to get the best out of a player. But for Jameson Williams, it's looking good via the Detroit Lions podcast. An extension, potentially. Stay on alert. Visit at Detroit Podcast for updated highlights, videos, discussions of the Detroit Lions all throughout the offseason and the time away now, the summer break, We'll still have coverage of everything going on with the rumors in the roster, which players are being rumored to the Lions, which players want to still play for the Lions, all things you can get in touch with us and me directly at Detroit Podcast. And here as well, Detroit Lions on SI's YouTube. Hit that notification bell, ding, when we go live and we have videos that show up, you instantly get aware. And feel free to comment. We definitely interact with the supporters. Let us know what you think. Yes or no? Jameson Williams, does he deserve a massive, massive contract extension?